as you might be knowing, SIDBI is an apex financial institution for MSME. And what the difference between SIDBI and the two giant banks sitting besides me, Bank of India and SBI, no comparison. The only difference is they have MSME department and SIDBI is the bank for MSME. And factually, if you see, our presence is very limited to 60, 70 locations. Even if we wish to reach you, we can't reach you. So we, or you, have to have last mile connectivity, the commercial banks only. SIDBI also realizes that. So what we do? We only do gap analysis. We do gap analysis that is available in the entire ecosystem. And if you see the evaluation of SIDBI, what we find is, wherever there is gap, we try to fill that gap only. We cannot fill the credit requirement of MSME, just minuscule percentage, just not possible. So what are the gaps? Biggest gap was technology. So we created a technology bank within SIDBI. There was a huge gap in the recent terms. There was a recent studies also, International Finance Division and different people have done it. They say there is a huge gap for equity funding to MSME. MSME cannot reach to venture because the ticket size is huge, big. They cannot even go to the angels or PE. So you have to have an organized mechanism, organized system, a banking channel which can give you equity or equity-like products. So SIDBI has come out with sub-debt or quasi-equity products. Okay? SIDBI has been proactively coming out with the solutions where the ecosystem is creating some gaps for MSME per se. Okay? Now, coming to the takeaways, I don't know whether you people are aware or not, but so far, many of the conferences I have been addressing, when I asked, do you know what are the government subsidy schemes as on date are prevalent? Somebody says one, somebody says two. I before coming to it, I just wanted to brush up my memory also. And would you remember, and you would believe there are 7, 8 subsidy schemes still available for you. And I just repeat it for your benefit. Tough for the textile and garment unit. Thereby, scheme 1, you get interest subsidy of 5% or 15% of the cost CLCS. There is another scheme where you get 5% interest subsidy plus 10% of capital subsidy. This scheme is available for garment, textile garment, and process houses. Similarly, there is another scheme for handlooms and power looms. This is where you get 20 to 25% of the subsidy of the cost incurred by you. Now coming to the fourth, there are 48 engineering or sub-engineering components or sectors where capital link credit subsidy is still available, whereby you get subsidy up to 15 lakh. So all these projects, if you are already in the business or you propose to set up these line of business, you can very well avail. And all the banks, it's not that government or SIDBI is doing that. All the banks are not, only thing is you should be aware of these things. Coming to the credit appraisal. First thing, SIDBI do have schemes. We do have printed brochures, but the motto and the concept is very clear. We don't go by the printed schemes. We tailor-made the schemes as per the requirement of the client. We don't have any fixed boundaries of the schemes. You come to me, I'll structure, my team will structure a scheme for you, and why it's so? Just see the composition of small scale. Just see the composition of MSME. There would be tiny, micro, medium, all from the sizes. If you compare from rural, cottage, high-tech, IT, there are industries for the first generation entrepreneur, techno entrepreneur, and family-run business. Now, there are complex of situation. There would be 20 types of entrepreneur who would be knocking the door of a banker. If I have सभी को मैं एक चश्मे से देखूंगा, So either I'll be fooling me or I would not do justice to that entrepreneur. So I have to have very open-minded, flexible approach to each project, to each case. So that is why we structured it. We tailor-made it as per your requirement. Credit decision is very person-specific. Your proposal could be a good proposal to me, a bad to him, a very good to the next gentleman. So the credit decision is very person-specific. So you should not get disheartened when your proposal, your credit judgment is not taken very positively or in the way you think it of. But law of the land, law of the bank, nobody can compromise. And law of the land, our SBI speaker and the earlier speaker have already touched upon, it's the KYC. It's the other legal requirements, the credit histories. Nobody, no bank can touch it upon if there is a default in that. So you maintain that first. You maintain that level of things because that is the entry level. And each bank, each officer just cannot ignore that. Coming to the second part, that is the credit decision. As rightly discussed and touched upon by many of the speakers earlier also, credit decision in the MSME segment is not driven by the balance sheet numbers. It's one-to-one interaction that actually happens at the factory. Even if he is not paying tax, but if I am as a banker convinced, yes, this is the thing, that is another matter. We have to convince him, we have to educate him and give him the benefits and reasons why he should pay tax, why he should show numbers in the books. That is a separate altogether story. But the thing is, the credit judgment is happening 80% times on the interactive positions when you visit, when you see the growth, when you see the projection, when you see the conviction, not on the numbers. But still going by that, coming to the appraisal part, what as a banker we do? We do nothing. We simply do nothing. And what we do is, we simply validate the things what you have just given us in the name of project reports. आपने हमको बताया कि सर मेरी कॉस्ट इतनी आएगी. I just as a appraisal officer, I just cross check it कि whatever the cost you are suggesting me, कि my project cost is 2 crore, whether it is actually 2 crores. Or because there should not be any over or underestimation of the cost. The similar validation I do about your means of finance. I, as a third party, my internal, external sources, I just cross-check them. And if I am satisfied, I simply sanction you the loans. So project appraisal is no big deal. So as provided you have done your homework well. Okay? So it's a very lengthy topic, so I cut it on about the project appraisal. And coming to the working capital management. What is working capital management? Working capital management includes three components. One is the asset side, that is the current asset, how you manage those current assets. Third is the current liabilities, how you manage that. But the most important thing is the difference of these two. That is called working capital gap, NWC, or you call it a different name. That is very important and very critical to understand. How it is going to be funded. If it is funded by you, how much the margin it is being created. It will become a little bit academic, I'll discuss it further. But the thing is, when it comes to management, it's very important to you to understand is, there is a saying in banking, lesser working capital is bad, but more working capital is worse. So you have to be adequately funded. Because if I start counting you the reasons of the loss or the disadvantage of less funding, there are more number of examples of excess funding. Excess funding can make your unit sick faster than shortage of fund. Sometimes shortage of funds even bring efficiency, optimizations of some other skills. But if it is overfunded, it's surely going to be bad day for you in the times to come. So it has to be adequately funded.